I've done it. I have become a summoner.
Chapter 15, Summoner Yuna.
Man, was I surprised. And here I was thinking summoners were all old geezers.
Tidus leaves the temple along with the rest of the group. Outside, Yuna stands in front of a crowd of people ready to perform her first summoning, her first Aeon.
Ready!
Okay.
Valid form.
I remember, that night, we talked for the first time. I didn't know it then, but after that night, everything changed. For everyone. For me.
Later that night, Wakka introduces Tidus to the rest of the Besaid Aurochs, telling them that Tidus wanted to play in the tournament so bad that he led him onto the team. Tidus introduces himself,
Hi guys.
and then the Aurochs say their goal.
To do our best!
But again, Tidus straightens them out quickly, making it clear that their new goal is
Victory! 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 Victory!
Tidus then tries to talk to Yuna, but the villagers around her berate him and keep him back for entering the Cloister of Trials. So Yuna gets up on her own and goes to meet him properly. Tidus compliments her on the summoning, and Yuna excitedly asks him if he thinks she could become a high summoner. Tidus, not understanding the implications of this, just nods. After a child gets Yuna's attention, Yuna and Tidus say their goodbyes, and Yuna tells him that Tidus can tell her all about Zanarkand tomorrow, implying that she believes his story about being from Zanarkand. Tidus sleeps in the Crusaders' Lodge that night and has a dream about Yuna and Riku. Guess he managed to get a crush on both of them within minutes? I don't know, that's the only thing I can think this dream means, as it seems like Yuna and Riku are fighting over his attention. Anyways, he's cockblocked by his dad in his dream, who laughs at the idea of Tidus with a woman, as he can't even catch a ball, because that's what makes a man. Then Tidus, in his dream, changes into his kid version, and look, the whole point of this dream is just to show how repressed, frustrated, and self-conscious Jet made Tidus, and how Jet's memory still seems to affect Tidus' idea of himself.
I hate you.
Huh? What'd you say?
You have to speak loudly. I hate you!
I hate you!
Tidus wakes up and hears Lulu and Wakka arguing outside. Lulu believes that Wakka just rescued Tidus because he looks so much like Chapu, Wakka's brother. She tells him that nobody can replace Chapu and that Wakka shouldn't have brought Tidus to Besaid Village. Afterwards, Wakka goes inside the Crusaders' Lodge and talks to Tidus about Chapu, who he was and how he died. He tells him that he became a guardian as a way of avenging his brother from Sin, and that after his upcoming Blitzball tournament, he's retiring from Blitzball. Then, Wakka and Tidus both go to sleep after Tidus thanks Wakka for all he has done for him.
Wakka.
Stop. You're embarrassing me.
The next morning, Tidus wakes up and Lulu and Wakka are already outside waiting for him. When Tidus approaches them, Wakka gives Tidus a sword, the Brotherhood sword, the sword he gave to Chapu before he left to fight Sin. Yuna then shows up with a giant suitcase full of gifts to the temple she will be visiting in her pilgrimage, but she leaves it all behind when Wakka tells her that this isn't a vacation. Worth noting, before all of this, while Tidus was sleeping, Luzu told Lulu that it was him that convinced Chapu to join the Crusaders. Something she didn't take very well, as that's the reason Chapu died. So she gives him a good slap. None of this is shown but it's told to us later. Just thought I'd mention it now. So Lulu already knows that it was Luzu that convinced Chapu to join the Crusaders. Before they make it to the boat they are to take to Kilika Island, Yuna stops at the top of a mountain to take one last look at Besaid Village. Wakka and Lulu, knowing what the end of a summoner's pilgrimage brings, respect this and give her whatever time she needs. But Tidus, not understanding the implications, rushes them and Wakka simply tells him,
We're gonna wait.
Huh?
After praying to an altar for a safe journey, the gang continue on their road. Later, Kimahri shows up and ambushes Tidus, attacking him for seemingly no reason. Eventually, Wakka stops him and he just walks away. Everybody acts like this is normal. When Tidus asks what Kimahri's problem is, Lulu simply explains who he is. Wakka just tells Tidus that he's another of Yuna's guardian, and Yuna says,
Sometimes we don't understand him either. Kimahri doesn't talk much anyway.
My guess is Kimahri was testing Tidus to see if he was worthy of protecting or even traveling with Yuna, worried that he was gonna get in their way. Finally, after some tutorial battles, Yuna and the rest make it to the Besaid Island dock where they depart and Yuna says their goodbyes to the people she's grown up with. Their first stop is Kilika Island, where they'll come across their first temple. On the ship, everyone goes about their business while Tidus makes himself a nuisance to strangers. After creeping on Lulu and Yuna a little, Tidus interacts with the party. Wakka just tells them that their next two stops are Kilika Temple and Luca, and Lulu just affirms that she knows nothing about him. After hearing about Braska from a crowd of people surrounding Yuna, Tidus asks Wakka about Yuna's dad, and Wakka tells him all about who Braska is and why that makes him, and by connection, Yuna, famous. Something which Tidus can relate to, because of Jet. Inside that boat, Tidus meets a merchant called Owaka the 23rd. A merchant who is out to make a name for himself, after a few donations. After learning about chocobos, a type of bird native to Spira used for transportation, power, and other things, Tidus finally gets a chance to talk to Yuna. After some awkward laughter, Yuna mentions that Wakka told her that Tidus said he's a blissful flame from Zanarkand. Not only that, but she tells Tidus that she actually believes him. Tidus is surprised as she gives a very accurate description of what his Zanarkand looks like, and that's when Yuna tells him that a man named Jet was the one who described it to her. Jet, Tidus' dad. After Tidus says that his father's name was Jet, Yuna is shocked and says that their meeting must be a blessing from heaven. Tidus, not believing that this could be the same Jet, tells Yuna that his dad died 10 years ago when he went out to the coast of Zanarkand and never returned. But Yuna does the math and realizes that 10 years ago was around the same time that he appeared in Bevelle. When Tidus questions how he could have gone to Spira, Yuna says,
You're here? Are you not?
The moment is quickly ruined as a loud bang is heard and the ship starts to tilt over. As a giant wave forms next to the boat, the culprit shows itself. Man, whole wide world and Sin just happens to always appear wherever Tidus is. Huh. Anyways, the men in the boat start aiming a harpoon gun at Sin's fin. Wakka yells at them, telling them that if they do that, their whole boat will be dragged down with Sin. However, they know that Sin is going for Kilika, and their families live there, so they're trying to distract Sin. Yuna, understanding their predicament, accepts their apology, and Kilikan starts to shoot Sin. This, of course, does nothing to deter Sin. Instead, now they're just riding along Sin's trail while Sin shoots out his living scales at them. After defeating all his scales and slapping his fin around for a little bit, instead of dragging the boat under it, Sin just breaks off the gun from the boat and dives under the sea. When everything calms down, Wakka notices that Tidus went down with the gun, and he goes into the sea looking for him. Wakka rescues Tidus from some Sin scales, and although their battle is won, Sin was not deterred. It arrives in Kilika and tears apart half of the waterbound village.
When Sin attacked Xanarkand that day, I woke up in Spira. I kept hoping it would work in reverse, too. I was just fooling myself. Maybe it was that day, on the sea, under the burning sun. I started to give up hope. I was in a foreign world. I wasn't going home. This was my new reality, and I was stuck in it for good.
The group arrive in Kilika much too late. Kilika is destroyed and Sin has retreated. Filled with greater determination, when Yuna arrives in Kilika, she immediately does her duty as a summoner and asks the villager where their dead are so she can perform ascending. Lulu follows her and Waka, along with the other Aurochs, go into the village to see how they can help. Tidus makes his way over to Lulu and Yuna, where he asks Lulu what ascending is. After Lulu explains to Tidus everything about descending, fiends and spirits, he begins to better understand the burden Yuna has taken on by becoming a summoner. But he still doesn't know half of it. Then, Yuna begins performing descending.
I wished there would never be a next time. No more people being killed by Sin. No more sendings for Yuna. Everyone stood there watching her. It was strange and somehow horrifying. I never wanted to see it again.
Chapter 16, Kilika Island. The next morning, Tidus wakes up and finds Waka, who tells him that they're going to go to the temple to pray for victory, something which Tidus finds inappropriate given the time. However, Waka tells him that this is the best time to be focusing on the game, as Blitzball, being one of the only sources of entertainment that brings spirits of all races together, helps keep people's minds off of the stress, pain, and suffering that Sin causes. Tidus and the rest head over to Kilika Jungle, past the beach, and there Yuna drops a big question on Tidus. Yeah, they've only known each other for like 2 days, but Yuna asks him,
I want to ask you to be my guardian.
the big question. Hearing Waka's doubts, Yuna retreats and instead just says that she wants him nearby. The conversation ends when Lulu interjects, leaving Tidus confused. The party then make it through the jungle and start making their way up the long temple stairs, where the Besaid Aurochs challenge Tidus to a race, and this wholesome scene happens.
Ready?
Hey!
Hey!
But the cute moment is quickly ended by a Sin spawn appearing halfway up the stairs, causing the Aurochs to run away and Yuna's guardians to arm up. Yuna and her group fight and defeat the Sin spawn, demonstrating to Waka how good a guardian Tidus could make. Then Lulu and Waka explain what a Sin spawn is.
Fiends, they fall from Sin's body and are left behind in its wake.
Leave him alone and Sin comes back for him. You gotta be quick.
sin always returns for its spawn. Keep that in mind. Anyways, it was at this moment that Tidus started to really consider becoming a guardian. After this, they continue making their way up the steps when Wakka asks Tidus if they have fiends in Zanarkand too. Tidus is surprised by this question as he thought Wakka didn't believe him about Zanarkand. Apparently, Wakka has been thinking that it's possible sin doesn't kill its victims. Maybe he just carries them across time and poof, one day they just come back. Lulu, who's been holding in her anger since Besaid, finally snaps as she knows that this is just Wakka trying to convince himself that Chapu may still be alive somewhere.
You make up one theory after another, refusing to face the simple truth. Sin didn't take Chapu anywhere. Sin crushed him and left him on the Jose shore. Your brother won't just pop back. Oh, and one more thing. No matter how much you want it, no one can take Chapu's place. No one can replace Serject, for that matter. And there's no replacement for Lord Braska, either. It's pointless to think about it. And sad.
Remember, Lulu and Chapu were together, so she's also hurt by his death. Unfortunately, she has a different way of showing it, and she's angered by the fact that she thinks Wakka is trying to replace Chapu with Tidus as they look alike. After the awkward tension left by Lulu, everyone walks off, leaving Tidus confused as he starts to realize that there is some history with Lulu and Wakka he's unaware of. But as he says,
Best not to go there.
Finally, they make it to the Kellica Temple. There they meet the Luca Goers, the best Blitzball team who are made up of possibly the snarkiest people in Spira. They tell Wakka that they just came to the temple to pray for some real competition, and then they begin mocking him and his team. When Tidus stands up to them, telling them that their new goal isn't to do their best, but it's victory, the Luca Goers don't take him seriously, and then they just walk away as they continue to mock them. No band's worth playing, they're all lame as hell. As everyone walks off, Tidus is left visibly angered by them. He tells Yuna that they're as bad as his dad with the way that they put people down. Something Yuna couldn't believe, as the Jet she knew was a kind and gentle man. Man, I would have loved to see that version of Jet that Yuna met. Then Tidus starts to make a realization. He seems to be fighting back.
Even 10 years after he left. Just thinking about my old man got me angry. But maybe that was just my way of keeping him... Nah.
His way of keeping him alive? Who knows? Maybe. Inside the temple, Wakka starts to play to Lord O'Holland as the rest stand by and wait for him. Then another summoner group spots them, another summoner and her one guardian.
My name is Yuna, from the Isle of Besaid.
Donna?
They introduce themselves and Donna starts talking down at her and the rest of the guardians.
And all these people are your guardians? My, what a rabble.
Recalling how her father only had 2 guardians, she continues to mock her, telling her that quality is more important than quantity. Then Yuna backs up her guardians with what, for some reason, became my favorite quote from her.
I only have as many guardians as there are people I can trust. I trust them all with my life. To have so many guardians is a joy and an honor. Even more so than being my father's daughter. Of course, I would never think of questioning your ways either.
After Yuna asks her to leave them in peace, Donna leaves. Hearing what Yuna said, Tidus begins to wonder if this meant that Yuna considered him someone she trusted and could rely on. As the group prepare to make their way down to the Cloister of Trials, Kimahri shoves Tidus out of the lift as he is not yet a guardian. Technically, meaning he's not allowed to go in. Eventually, Donna and her guardian Bartello show up. When Tidus tells her that he's waiting for them because he's not a guardian, Donna orders Bartello to shove Tidus onto the lift. Probably as a way of trying to get Yuna into trouble. Like, what's your problem? This isn't a competition. You know what lies at the end of the journey, right? Whatever. I never understood her bitchiness towards Yuna. The idea of getting competitive for the chance to sacrifice yourself just seems weird to me. Anyways, Tidus is forced down into the Cloister of Trials and, well, he's already here, so he might as well continue forward. He makes his way through the fiery escape room and finally makes it to where the rest of the party is waiting for Yuna, shocking Wakka and Lulu. Wakka and Lulu tell him that if they get in trouble for this, it'll be Yuna to suffer the consequences, namely excommunication. While they wait for Yuna, Wakka and Lulu explain to Tidus that the chamber ahead is where the faith lie and that only summoners may enter. It's taboo for even guardians to enter. So of course, they also have to explain what faiths are since Tidus isn't aware of this either. Again, showing how different the Dream Zanarkand turned out to be from the real Zanarkand, because the real Zanarkand was full of summoners. Eventually, Yuna makes it out of the Chamber of the Faith, exhausted. As everyone gathered around Yuna, Tidus recalls that he recognized the song playing in the Chamber of the Faith, the Hymn of the Faith. As this was the song of defiance Zanarkand used to sing against Babel, and the same song that Jet used to hum. This began to make Tidus feel homesick again. These feelings just kept building up inside of Tidus as they headed out of the temple until finally Yuna asks him if he's okay and he just... I guess he had to let it out somehow. Yuna now has the fiery Aeon Ifrit. Finally, they make it back to the dock and begin their journey to Luca, where Wakka and the Aurochs will finally play their tournament. Chapter 17, Luca. On the ship, everyone once again goes about their business. Lulu and Wakka go to an isolated spot to talk, and Tidus, who can't seem to sleep, eavesdrops on them. Lulu asks Wakka if he will take the responsibility for Tidus if he can't find anybody he knows of Luca. In his mind, Tidus could just join a blitzball team, as it would be better than just leaving him behind in Besaid, but Lulu points to the obvious that just leaving him behind in Luca isn't much better. Lulu tells him that he should propose becoming a guardian to Tidus, as Yuna seems to want to make him a guardian, but she can't bring herself to ask him. The reason for this is that Yuna knows Tidus hates his dad.
Do you really think she can possibly say to him, I want you to be my guardian, like your father was to mine?
So Wakka agrees to ask him after the tournament. Before Tidus walks off, Wakka mentions how hating your own father seems like a luxury to him, as he can't even remember his parents. Tidus then goes onto the front of the ship and practices with a blitzball. Remembering all the time Jet put him down, Tidus found the drive to perform Jet's special move.
You can't do it, kid. But don't worry, my boy. You're not the only one. You're out of your league. No one can't do it. I'm the best. You can't do it. No one else can do it. No one You're out of your league. You're out of your league. No one else can do it.
In his delight, he fails to notice the Aurochs just staring at him in amazement. When Wakka tells him what the move is called, he says that it doesn't have a name and that anyone can do it if they try, doing the opposite of what his father did to him, encouraging people. He then demonstrates the move again, and the Aurochs begin practicing as Tidus walks over to Yuna. Yuna immediately knew that Tidus was lying and that the move does have a name, since Jet showed it to her when she was a child.
He called it the Sublimely Magnificent Jet Shot Mark III.
Tidus then reveals that there isn't a Mark II or Mark I of the move, and he only named it Mark III to keep the crowd coming back in order to one day see the other two moves. Good advertising, actually. Yuna tells Tidus that Jet, being Braska's guardian, was famous in spirit too, so if something happened to him, someone is bound to know. Yuna and Tidus then express their differing views on having famous parents, while Tidus resents him, saying how tough it is to have a famous dad. Yuna believes that the honor of having a father like Braska surpasses any feelings she may have towards it. After Tidus talks some more shit about Jet, upsetting Yuna, Wakka calls Tidus back to show him the move again.
Ow! Show me that move again!
This event is
The group have finally made it to Luca, and Titus is excited to see such a big city with a Blitzball Stadium in Spira. All the teams are introduced as they arrive on a boat. All the teams are introduced as they arrive on a boat, although the Aurochs have a less than graceful introduction.
Well, well, if it isn't the Besaid Aurochs. They're a living, breathing, statistical impossibility. I've never seen a team this bad.
After hearing the announcer praise the Luca goers, Titus proceeds to embarrass everyone around him.
Stop right there, goers! You guys are smiling now, but not for long! 'Cause this year, us Aurochs are taking the cup!
Where did he get a megaphone? Afterwards, Maester Micah arrives at the dock. When the group notices everyone running, Lulu explains to Titus who Micah is, the leader of Spira and the Church of Yevon. Everyone goes to see him off his boat. When Micah shows up, he takes this opportunity to present the new Maester of Yevon after the death of Jiskel, Maester Seymour, Jiskel's son. Seymour makes his introduction speech, and quickly, it seems Yuna catches his attention before he departs. Later, Wakka announces that they're playing the Al Bhed Psyches first, something which uplifts their spirit as they always have to play against the Luca goers first, the best team in Spira, so maybe now they can at least win one game. After some training, Yuna finds Titus and tells him that someone said they saw Auron in a cafe. Yuna doesn't actually know that he knows Auron though. She's just telling Titus because Auron knew Jet, so she thinks she might be able to tell them Jet's whereabouts. Either way, they both hurry to the cafe where they believe Auron is. On the way there, Titus spots a pair of Al Bhed who take notice to the fact that Yuna is a summoner and say that they should report it. Titus approaches them and asks them if they know Riku, as he wants to thank her for everything she did for him. On the way to the cafe, after not getting an answer from the Al Bheds, a few things happen. One, Titus realizes just how famous Yuna is by the crowd she creates. 2, Titus teaches Yuna how to whistle as a way to make sure they can find each other if they get separated. This is going to become their thing, and it's kind of lame. And 3, they stop to admire Luca, and Titus tells Yuna that Zanarkand is essentially Luca on steroids. Yuna also explains that while Luca isn't less of a target for Sin, the reason Luca has been able to grow so large is because he gets extra protection since the Blitzball Stadium is there. When they make it to the cafe, they are disappointed to find that Auron isn't there. Instead, they come upon Biran and Yenki, Kimahri's old friends. They mock Kimahri like a couple of grade schoolers, and Titus, who disdains bullies, tells Kimahri to take them on, and, well, he does. And he actually manages to take out Yenki with one punch. However, he is distracted when the game starts, and Biran manages to sucker punch Kimahri. As the game begins, Titus realizes that Yuna is gone. Biran gets one more punch in, but having his priorities straight, Kimahri runs outside to find Yuna. Outside, Lulu informs him that Yuna has been kidnapped by the Al Bhed Psyches, telling them that they'll return her if the Aurochs throw the game. Not willing to take their demands, they go to find Yuna in the docks as Wakka buys them time by keeping the score tied. Eventually, the group finds and jumps onto the Al Bhed Psyches boat, where they're forced to fight the Obliterator, a machina weapon that throws blitzballs. Eventually, using a crane, or not, they manage to destroy the machina and Yuna is let go. Noticing Titus looking around, Yuna asks Titus what he's looking for, and he tells him about his encounter with Al Bhed when he first got to Spira, and that he was hoping this was the same ship he was rescued in, or captured in. When Yuna asks if there was anyone named Sid on the ship, Yuna reveals her Al Bhed heritage by telling Titus that Sid is her uncle. After giving some family history, Lulu makes it a point to tell Titus not to tell Wakka about Yuna being an Al Bhed, as he's not very fond of Al Bhed. After this, Lulu sends out a magic flare telling Wakka that they've found Yuna. Knowing this, Wakka goes all out on the game, and with an all-out offensive, the Besaid Aurochs manage to win their first game in over 2 decades.
Oh! Oh! He shoots! Goal! Unbelievable! The Aurochs win the match 3-2.